Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about something that's at the heart of literally every business running SAP, turning a product shipment into actual cash. And trust me, there's a huge change under the hood that you need to know about. So what really happens when you hit save on an invoice in SAP? It's more than you might think. We're going to walk through that classic billing process first, but then we're diving deep into a massive technical shift in S/4HANA. And if you're a developer, you're going to want to stick around for this. All right, first things first. To really get a grip on billing, you have to see where it fits. It doesn't just happen on its own, right? It's actually the grand finale of the whole order-to-cash process, or as you'll often hear it, O2C. So you know the drill. It all starts with the sales order. That's basically the handshake, the agreement with the customer. Then it's over to the warehouse for the outbound delivery. The goods get picked, packed, and shipped out the door. And then comes the big moment, the one we're here to talk about, billing. This is where we create the invoice and actually ask for the money. Okay, let's zoom in on that final step. We're talking about creating the actual billing document. And in the world of SAP, the classic way to do this is with the good old transaction code VF01. Now, when you save this billing document, it's doing so much more than just spitting out a piece of paper. This is a huge integration point. The system is automatically creating all the financial accounting documents behind the scenes. It's debiting the customer's account, it's crediting your company's revenue. I mean, this is the exact moment that sale officially hits the books as profit. Okay, developers, listen up. This next part is specifically for you. Because while the VF01 screen might look pretty much the same in S/4HANA, what's happening underneath? Well, that's a completely different story. SAP introduced a massive, and I mean massive, simplification to how pricing data is stored. Think of it like this. In the old days with ECC, pricing data was stored in what was basically a jumbled, locked filing cabinet. It was all crammed in there, and you needed a special key just to get anything out. It was complicated. But now, in S/4HANA, it's like a neatly organized open bookshelf. Everything's right there, easy to find, easy to read. And that filing cabinet versus bookshelf thing, it's not just a nice little story. It perfectly describes a fundamental change in the actual database tables that hold all this precious pricing info. So let's get technical. The old way in ECC used a table called KONV. Now, KONV was a cluster table, which is a fancy way of saying the data was all compressed and packed together. You couldn't just query it easily. But in the new S/4HANA world, that's all gone. It's been replaced by a transparent table, which is exactly what it sounds like, simple, clear, and easy to read with standard SQL. And that new transparent table has a name you need to remember, PRCD_elements. This is your new single source of truth for all pricing condition data. Because it's a transparent table, you can just access it. It makes writing reports, building interfaces, and debugging so much easier. Okay, so a table changed. Big deal, right? What does this actually mean for you, the developer, who's in the trenches writing reports and building enhancements every day? Well, here's the bottom line, and it's a big one. Any of your old custom code, any of your select statements that are still trying to read from that old KONV table, they're broken. They just won't work correctly in S/4HANA. You absolutely have to update them. And this table here lays it out perfectly. It's a straight up before and after. On the left, you see your legacy code hitting KONV. On the right, the modern code hitting PRCD elements. But, and this is a super important detail, look at that second line. It's not just the table name that changes. The key field you use to link back to the invoice header has changed too. It goes from VBRK KNMV to VBRK pricing_proc. Miss that little detail and your code will fail. It's a classic migration gotcha. And you know, this change isn't just for the sake of changing things. The benefits are huge. We're talking faster data retrieval, much simpler ABAP code, no more of that complex cluster decoding nonsense, and way easier debugging when something goes wrong. It's all part of that bigger philosophy of S/4HANA, the simplified data model. So you see this trend, right? SAP is making core data structures like pricing simpler and more transparent. And that kind of leaves us with a really interesting question to chew on. As the data layer gets simpler, where does the real complexity in these massive enterprise systems move to next? What's the next big challenge for us developers to tackle? Something to think about. Thanks so much for joining this explainer.